People often believe meaningful change requires a dramatic decision. They imagine losing a large amount of weight, building a successful business, learning a language, or completely changing their daily routine through one powerful moment of motivation. James Clear offers a different view. Lasting improvement usually comes from small actions repeated consistently. A habit that appears unimportant today can produce a major result when it continues for months or years. In the same way, a small harmful behavior can gradually create serious problems. Clear calls these small behaviors atomic habits. The word atomic has two meanings. An atomic habit is tiny, but is also part of a larger system. Like atoms forming a physical object, small habits combine to form a person's results, lifestyle, and identity. The book argues that people focus too much on goals and too little on systems. A goal describes the result someone wants. A system describes the repeated actions that move them toward that result. Winning a championship is a goal. Training consistently is a system. Writing a book is a goal. Following a daily writing routine is a system. Saving a certain amount of money is a goal. Automatically investing part of every salary is a system. Goals provide direction, but systems create progress. Atomic Habits explains how habits form and how people can intentionally design better ones. Clear organizes the process around 4 laws. Make the habit obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. To stop an unwanted habit, reverse those laws. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. The central lesson is simple. People do not rise permanently to the level of their goals. They usually fall to the level of the systems they repeat. Blink 1. Small habits create large results through compounding. A small improvement rarely produces an exciting result immediately. Reading 10 pages does not create deep knowledge in one day. Saving a small amount does not create wealth in 1 month. Exercising once does not transform the body. Because the early result is difficult to see, people often decide that the effort is not working. They stop before compounding has enough time to become visible. Clear compares habits with financial interest. Money that earns interest begins producing additional money. Over time, the growth becomes larger because each new gain builds on everything that came before. Habits work similarly. A small improvement in skill makes future learning easier. One healthy meal supports another good decision. A clean workspace reduces friction when beginning the next task. The same process works negatively. A small amount of unnecessary spending may appear harmless. Repeated every day, it can weaken long-term finances. One delayed task may not matter. A habit of avoiding difficult work can eventually damage a career. Clear explains that habits often produce delayed results. There is a gap between the action and the visible reward. An ice cube in a cold room does not begin melting immediately when the temperature rises. The room may move from -5 degrees to -1, yet the cube still looks unchanged. At 0 degrees, the ice begins to melt. The final degree appears responsible, but every earlier increase was necessary. Habit change often follows the same pattern. Progress may remain hidden until it crosses an important point. Clear calls this the plateau of latent potential. People who continue through this period eventually see results that appear sudden to outsiders, but were actually created through many small actions. The lesson is to judge habits by the direction they create, not only by the immediate outcome. Blink 2. Focus on systems rather than goals alone. Goals are useful because they identify a destination, but they have serious limits. First, successful and unsuccessful people often share the same goals. Every athlete wants to win. Every company wants to grow. Every student wants strong results. The goal cannot explain why one person succeeds while another does not. The difference usually lies in the system. Second, achieving a goal creates only a temporary change. Someone may clean a disorganized room and reach the goal of making it tidy. But if the habits that created the disorder remain unchanged, the room will soon become messy again. The person corrected the result without correcting the system. Third, goals can create a harmful belief that happiness must wait until achievement. A person tells themselves they will feel successful after losing weight, receiving a promotion, or reaching a financial target. Life becomes divided into failure before the goal and happiness afterward. Systems allow satisfaction to come from following the process. A person can feel successful each day they complete the planned action, even while the final result remains distant. Finally, goals can create a stopping point. After completing a race, someone may stop training. After reaching a sales target, a team may reduce its effort. The goal was reached, but the behavior that created success disappears. Clear does not argue that goals should be removed. Goals establish direction. Systems determine progress. The person should decide where they want to go and then place most of their attention on the repeated process that can take them there. The most important question is not, what result do I want? It is, what system would make that result more likely? Blink 3. Lasting change begins with identity. Clear describes 3 levels of behavior change. The first level is changing outcomes. These are results such as losing weight, earning more money, or completing a project. The second level is changing processes. These include routines, systems, and daily actions. The third and deepest level is changing identity. Identity concerns the beliefs people hold about who they are. Many people begin change from the outside. They focus on the result and then attempt to force themselves through the required actions. Clear recommends beginning from the inside. Decide what kind of person you want to become, then prove that identity through small actions. Instead of saying, I want to read more, say, I am becoming a reader. Instead of saying, I want to stop smoking, say, I am not a smoker. Instead of saying, I want to exercise, say, I am a person who takes care of my health. The difference may sound small, but identity influences behavior. When an action supports a person's self-image, it becomes easier to repeat. Every completed habit becomes a vote for the identity the person wants. One workout does not make someone an athlete. One page does not make someone a writer. But each action provides evidence. Identity is built through repeated proof. This also explains why bad habits can be difficult to change. A person may have repeated statements such as, I am bad with money, I am always late, or I cannot concentrate. These beliefs begin guiding behavior. The individual may reject useful change because it conflicts with the familiar identity. Clear encourages flexibility. Identity should not become a prison. The purpose is to create beliefs that support growth while remaining willing to update them when life changes. The practical process has 2 steps. Decide the type of person you want to be. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Blink 4. Habits follow a 4-stage loop. Clear explains that every habit develops through 4 stages. Cue, craving, response, and reward. The cue is a signal that begins the behavior. A phone notification appears. A person enters the kitchen. A certain time of day arrives. The signal tells the brain that a possible reward is available. The cue produces a craving. People do not crave the habit itself. They crave the change in feeling or condition connected to it. Someone does not crave turning on the television. They crave entertainment or relaxation. A person does not crave checking social media. They may crave connection, novelty, or relief from boredom. The response is the actual behavior. The person opens the application, begins exercising, or prepares to study. Whether the response occurs depends on motivation and difficulty. If the action feels too difficult or impossible, it is less likely to happen. The reward is the result. Rewards satisfy the craving and teach the brain whether the behavior should be repeated. Enjoyable food creates pleasure. Completing a task creates relief or pride. Receiving a message creates social connection. This loop produces Clear's 4 laws of behavior change. The cue should be obvious. The craving should make the habit attractive. The response should be easy. The reward should make the behavior satisfying. To break a bad habit, the process can be reversed. Make the cue invisible. Make the habit unattractive. Make the response difficult. Make the result unsatisfying. These laws turn habit change from a vague struggle with willpower into a design problem. People can examine each stage and ask where the system is failing. A habit may not begin because the cue is hidden. It may stop because the action is too difficult. It may disappear because the reward arrives too slowly. Understanding the loop helps people design a more reliable solution. Blink 5. Make good habits obvious. Many habits happen automatically because the cues are already present in the environment. A person sees a bowl of snacks and begins eating. A phone sits beside the bed, so checking it becomes the first action in the morning. Clear argues that behavior is often shaped less by strong personal intention than by visible surroundings. The first law is therefore to make good habits obvious. One useful method is the habit scorecard. The person lists the actions they normally complete during the day and labels each one as helpful, harmful, or neutral. This creates awareness. Many habits operate below conscious attention. They cannot be changed until they are noticed. Another method is implementation intention. Instead of saying, "I will exercise more," create a specific plan. I will exercise at 6 o'clock in the evening in the living room. The format is, I will perform this behavior at this time in this location. Specific plans reduce the need to decide later. Clear also recommends habit stacking. A new habit is connected to an existing one. After I make my morning coffee, I will write my plan for the day. After I brush my teeth, I will prepare my exercise clothes. The current habit becomes the cue for the new behavior. Environment design is equally powerful. Place the book on the pillow if you want to read before sleeping. Keep fruit visible and place less healthy food out of sight. Leave the guitar in the center of the room rather than inside a closed case. The environment should silently point toward the desired action. People often blame themselves for lacking discipline while remaining surrounded by cues that support the opposite behavior. A better environment makes good decisions more visible and bad decisions less convenient. Blink 6. Make the desired behavior attractive. People repeat habits that appear rewarding. The second law is to make good habits attractive. The brain releases dopamine not only when a reward is received, but also when the reward is expected. Anticipation creates motivation. This is why planning a holiday can feel exciting before the trip begins, and why the sight of a favorite food can create desire before eating. Clear recommends temptation bundling. Combine something you need to do with something you enjoy. A person may listen to a favorite podcast only while exercising. They may watch a particular show only while folding laundry. The attractive activity provides immediate motivation for the useful activity. Social influence also shapes desire. People naturally imitate the habits of those around them, especially close relationships, large groups, and respected individuals. If most friends exercise, reading, saving, or healthy eating begins to feel normal. If the group treats excessive spending or constant complaining as normal, those habits become easier to adopt. Joining a culture where the desired behavior is common makes change more attractive. Identity and belonging begin supporting the habit. To weaken a bad habit, Clear recommends making it unattractive by examining its real costs. Many harmful behaviors are connected to positive language. Smoking may be described as relaxation. Unnecessary shopping may be described as a reward. Avoiding work may be described as needing more preparation. The person can rewrite the story. Smoking damages health and creates dependence. Unplanned spending reduces future freedom. Delay increases stress. Good habits also deserve better framing. Exercise is not punishment. It is an opportunity to build strength. Saving is not deprivation. It is purchasing future independence. Motivation grows when the person connects the behavior with its deeper benefit. Blink 7. Make good habits easy to perform. People often believe they need more motivation. Clear argues that they frequently need less friction. The third law is to make the habit easy. Human beings naturally prefer options that require less effort. This does not mean people are lazy. Energy is limited, so the brain looks for efficient paths. A useful habit should therefore be placed on the easiest possible path. Prepare the environment in advance. Lay out exercise clothes the night before. Automatically transfer money into savings. Keep writing materials ready. Remove unnecessary steps between intention and action. The number of repetitions matters more than the number of days. A habit becomes automatic through practice. Planning, researching, and discussing an action may feel productive, but they do not create the habit. Clear separates motion from action. Motion includes preparing to do the work. Action produces the actual result. Reading about exercise is motion. Completing the workout is action. Studying writing techniques is motion. Writing a paragraph is action. One of the book's most practical ideas is the 2-minute rule. When beginning a new habit, reduce it to an action taking less than 2 minutes. Read before bed becomes read 1 page. Run 3 kilometers becomes put on running shoes. Study for an hour becomes open the textbook. The 2-minute action may appear too small to matter. Its purpose is to master the art of showing up. A habit must be established before it can be improved. Once beginning becomes automatic, the action can gradually expand. Clear also recommends commitment devices. These are decisions made today that control future behavior. Someone may register and pay for a class in advance, remove entertainment applications, or use software that blocks distracting websites. The easiest way to resist temptation is often to make the unwanted action difficult before temptation appears. Blink 8. Make progress immediately satisfying. Good habits often produce delayed rewards. Exercise may feel uncomfortable now but improve health later. Saving reduces spending today but creates security in the future. Bad habits often reverse this pattern. They feel rewarding immediately while the cost arrives later. Unhealthy food provides pleasure now. Health problems appear gradually. This mismatch makes habit change difficult. The fourth law is to make good habits satisfying. The brain learns from immediate consequences. If a behavior feels rewarding now, it becomes more likely to continue. Clear recommends adding a small immediate reward to habits whose natural benefit is delayed. After completing a workout, a person might record it on a calendar and enjoy seeing the chain grow. After avoiding an unnecessary purchase, they might transfer the same amount into an account for a meaningful future goal. The reward should support the desired identity rather than conflict with it. Eating unhealthy food after every workout would weaken the larger purpose. Habit tracking is a powerful source of satisfaction. Each completed action is marked on a calendar, application, or notebook. The visible record provides evidence of progress and encourages consistency. The rule is simple: do not break the chain. But life will sometimes interrupt the routine. Clear advises never missing twice. One missed workout or study session is not the real problem. The danger is allowing one interruption to become the beginning of a new pattern. Returning immediately protects the identity and system. The quality of tracking also matters. People may begin focusing on the number rather than the purpose. A person can increase hours worked without increasing useful output. Measurement should guide behavior, not replace judgment. The reward must remind the individual that the action is moving them toward the kind of person they want to become. Blink 9. Use accountability to make bad habits unsatisfying. Harmful habits continue when their consequences are delayed, hidden, or easy to ignore. Making a bad habit unsatisfying creates an immediate cost. One method is a habit contract. The person writes down the behavior they will follow and the consequence for failing. Other people witness the agreement. For example, someone may promise to complete 3 workouts each week. If they fail without a valid reason, they must pay money to a cause they do not support or complete an unpleasant task. The exact consequence matters less than making the cost immediate and visible. An accountability partner can provide similar pressure. People often protect promises made to others more seriously than promises made only to themselves. A friend, coach, colleague, or family member can review progress. This introduces a social consequence. Humans care deeply about how others see them. The desire to appear consistent and reliable can strengthen a habit. Accountability should not become humiliation or excessive punishment. Its purpose is to support responsibility. The best arrangement involves someone who wants the person to succeed but will not quietly accept repeated excuses. Clear also emphasizes that bad habits can be redesigned through all 4 laws. Remove the cue from the environment. Connect the behavior with its negative consequences. Add friction before the action. Create an immediate cost afterward. Someone trying to reduce phone use could keep the phone outside the bedroom, turn off notifications, use an application blocker, and report daily screen time to a friend. No single action depends entirely on willpower. The environment, technology, and social system all support the desired behavior. Self-control is useful, but designing a life that requires less self-control is more reliable. Blink 10. Habits must continue evolving to remain effective. Habits make actions automatic. This is useful because automatic behavior requires less mental effort. But automaticity creates a danger. Once people become comfortable, they may stop paying attention and stop improving. A person can repeat the same exercise routine, sales method, or work process for years without becoming better. Clear argues that mastery requires habits combined with deliberate practice. Habits establish reliable performance. Deliberate practice identifies weaknesses and pushes beyond the current level. The person needs enough repetition to make the basics automatic and enough reflection to prevent mindless repetition. The Goldilocks rule also supports motivation. People remain most engaged when a task is difficult enough to be challenging, but not so difficult that success feels impossible. If the task is too easy, boredom appears. If it is too hard, discouragement appears. The ideal challenge sits slightly beyond the current ability. Clear also discusses the importance of choosing habits that fit natural strengths, interests, and personality. Anyone can improve through practice, but people do not begin with identical abilities. Someone who enjoys social interaction may find group exercise easier to maintain. Someone who prefers quiet work may develop better habits around writing or individual study. The goal is not to copy another person's routine exactly. It is to find a version that suits the individual well enough to continue. Periodic review is essential. A habit that once supported progress may later become outdated. People should examine what is working, where they are becoming comfortable, and whether their actions still support their desired identity. Good habits provide stability. Reflection ensures that stability does not become stagnation. Key takeaways from the book. Atomic Habits explains how very small behaviors can create large results when repeated consistently over time. Habits compound. Small improvements may remain invisible at first, but become powerful after enough repetition. Goals provide direction, while systems create progress. Lasting change comes from improving the daily process rather than focusing only on the final outcome. The deepest form of change is identity-based. Decide who you want to become and use small actions as evidence for that identity. Every habit follows 4 stages: cue, craving, response, and reward. The 4 laws of behavior change are to make a good habit obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. To break a bad habit, make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. Clear cues, implementation intentions, habit stacking, and thoughtful environment design make useful behaviors easier to begin. Temptation bundling and supportive social groups make habits more attractive. Reducing friction, preparing in advance, and using the 2-minute rule make habits easier to perform consistently. Immediate rewards and habit tracking make progress satisfying, especially when the natural benefits are delayed. Accountability partners and habit contracts create immediate consequences for unwanted behavior. One missed action should not become a new pattern. The practical rule is never miss twice. Habits create consistency, but continued improvement requires reflection and deliberate practice. The book's central lesson is that remarkable change rarely depends on one dramatic decision. It comes from building small systems that repeatedly support the person you want to become.